AITA for paying only my share after my wife called me her second choice at our anniversary dinner? I'm Lewis, 36, and by that night I had been married to Kara for 8 years. We weren't the kind of couple who posted long declarations about soulmates or wore matching shirts on vacation. We were quieter than that. We had a Sunday grocery routine, an ongoing argument about whether leftovers counted as dinner, and a cabinet full of mugs we kept buying even though we used the same two every morning. I liked those ordinary things. I thought they meant we had built something steady. People called us solid. I used to take that as a compliment. Kara was 33, funny when she wanted to be, social in a way I never was, and good at making a room feel warmer when she entered it. She could also turn cold without raising her voice. It took me years to understand that the second part was not a mood. It was a skill. I knew she had loved someone before me. His name was Adrian. She had dated him in her 20s before we met. From what Kara told me early in our relationship, Adrian was charming, spontaneous, and almost perfect, except that he never wanted the same future she did. He moved on. She said she had too. I had a past as well, so I never treated his name like forbidden territory. I thought adults were allowed to remember people without still belonging to them. The problem was that Adrian did not stay in Kara's past. He lived in our marriage like an invisible third person who only appeared when she wanted to make me feel inadequate. If I planned a quiet birthday dinner, she would say, "Adrian once drove 3 hours just to surprise me." If I asked what she wanted for an anniversary, she would shrug and say, "Romance isn't really your thing." If I tried to talk through an argument instead of making some dramatic gesture, she would tell me, "You're practical, Lewis. That's why I married you." At first, I heard those comments as clumsy honesty. Then they became jokes. I married stability, not fireworks. Adrian would have understood why that mattered. "You're the safe choice." That's not an insult. The first few times, I pushed back. I don't like being compared to him. I told her one night after she mentioned Adrian during an argument about a canceled weekend plan. Kara was standing at the kitchen counter, eating cold pasta straight from the container. She rolled her eyes. "I didn't compare you. I said he understood that spontaneity matters to me. You brought him up to explain what I lack. That sounds like your insecurity, not my intention. I'm telling you it hurts. And I'm telling you that you always take everything so seriously." That became the pattern. If I said the comparisons were disrespectful, I was jealous. If I asked her not to joke about settling for me, I was controlling how she spoke. If I walked away before the conversation got ugly, I was emotionally unavailable. If I stayed and tried to explain myself, I was exhausting. There was no response I could give that did not become evidence against me. So I started choosing peace. At least, that is what I called it. The truth was that I had become afraid of looking insecure, which meant Kara could insult me as long as she smiled while doing it. I thought maturity meant swallowing disrespect and refusing to make a scene. I told myself that people in long marriages sometimes said careless things. I focused on the routines, the bills paid on time, the coffee in the dark, the shared grocery list on the refrigerator. I mistook endurance for commitment. About 4 months before our anniversary, Kara suggested we renew our vows. She brought it up over takeout one Friday night. She had spread brochures and printed photos across the dining table before I came in. There were pictures of long tables under string lights, white flowers, polished silverware, and couples smiling like they had never argued about dirty dishes. "I think we need this," she said. "A party. A recommitment." I looked at the cost estimate on the first page and raised an eyebrow. "That is an expensive recommitment." She smiled, but there was tension under it. "We've survived a lot." I wanted to ask what exactly we had survived. We had never separated. There had been no major illness, no affair that I knew of, no crisis that threatened to destroy us. We had simply become less kind to each other, and most of the unkindness had a way of being called humor once it came from her. Instead, I asked, what would this change? It would remind us why we chose each other. That sentence got me. I wanted to be chosen. More than I was willing to admit, I wanted Kara to stand in front of everyone and say that whatever she had once imagined with Adrian no longer mattered because our marriage was real. So I agreed. We chose a venue, a photographer, a florist, and a caterer. Kara handled most of the details because she cared more about the look of it. My name went on the venue account because the deposit came from our joint funds. She talked about new rings, a formal dinner, and a toast called What We Survived. She also wanted Adrian invited. I thought she was joking the first time she said it. Why would your ex be at our vow renewal? Because he's part of my past, and adults can be mature. Being mature doesn't require inviting him to watch us promise ourselves to each other again. You're proving why it matters. How? You still act threatened by someone I haven't dated for years. I'm not threatened. I think it's inappropriate. She folded her arms. I'm not going to erase my life to protect your ego. We argued for almost an hour. In the end, I told her I would not agree to inviting him. She said fine, then spent the rest of the night barely speaking to me. A week later, she softened. She made coffee before I woke up and sat across from me at the kitchen table. I don't want this to become another thing between us, she said. The renewal is supposed to be a fresh start. That phrase stayed with me. Not a recommitment. A fresh start. At the time, I assumed she meant for us. Around the same period, Kara booked what she called a marriage retreat for a weekend 2 months before the renewal. She said it would give us a chance to reconnect without distractions. I was cautiously hopeful until I checked the dates against our shared calendar. The retreat fell on the same weekend Adrian was returning for a family event. Kara had mentioned it casually a few days earlier, then acted like she had forgotten. Why that weekend? I asked. It was available. There are 3 other open weekends. This one works best. For us. She looked up from her phone. What is that supposed to mean? You only started pushing for this date after you heard Adrian would be back. She gave a sharp laugh. You really do build entire stories out of nothing. I'm asking a question. And I'm answering. It's for us. The retreat never happened. Kara claimed the reservation could not be moved, then said she had too much going on and blamed me for draining the excitement out of it. The charge still appeared on our shared statement. I let it go. That is embarrassing to admit now, but I did. I was tired of every concern turning into a debate about my character. I kept thinking there had to be a point where being reasonable would make her reasonable too. Then came our anniversary dinner. Kara had organized it at an upscale restaurant with a private room in the back. There were 12 of us, Kara and me, her best friend Bianca, our longtime friend Cal and his wife, Noah, and a few other people we had known for years. The table was crowded with wine glasses, candles, and little plates no one could identify without asking the server. A shared dessert menu sat near Kara's elbow, even though we had not finished our entrees. Kara had been drinking more quickly than usual. Not enough to lose control, but enough to become louder and more performative. Bianca kept leaning toward her and whispering things that made both of them laugh. I had noticed the tone between them all evening. It felt like they knew a joke no one else had heard. When the server came in to ask whether we wanted another round, Kara lifted her glass. Wait, she said. I want to say something. The server paused near the door. Kel took out his phone because he recorded everything at dinners. Kara stood, one hand resting on the back of her chair. She looked at me for half a second, then looked around the table. 8 years, she said. Can you believe it? People smiled. Someone tapped a fork against a glass. Kara continued. Marriage is funny. Some women marry the love of their life. Her eyes flicked toward Bianca. Some marry the man who doesn't leave. The room went quiet. Not completely. There was still music from the main dining room and the faint clatter of dishes somewhere behind the wall. But at our table, no one moved. Then Bianca gave a small laugh. At least he's consistent, she said. A couple of people joined in because they did not know what else to do. I looked at Kara. She was smiling. I asked quietly, is that what this marriage is to you? Her smile tightened. Oh my God, Louis. Is it? It was a joke. Don't make it weird. The server stared down at the order pad in her hand. My face felt hot, but the rest of me had gone strangely calm. I remember noticing little things with ridiculous clarity. The ring of condensation under my glass, the half-eaten piece of salmon on my plate, Kara's lipstick on the rim of hers. I reached for the bill folder sitting near the end of the table and asked the server if she could separate my entree, one drink, tax, and tip. Kara leaned toward me. Are you seriously doing this? Yes. You're going to ruin the whole night because you can't take a joke? I counted out enough cash to cover my portion and placed it inside the folder. I'm done being the punchline tonight. Louis, sit down. I stood. Bianca muttered, there he goes. Cold as ever. I looked at her, then at Kara. Neither of them appeared embarrassed by what had been said. They were embarrassed that I was refusing to absorb it. So I left. I did not shout. I did not slam the door. I did not send a glass across the table or demand that anyone choose sides. I walked out of the restaurant, stood on the sidewalk for a minute, and realized I did not want to go home. I booked a hotel room using my personal card. The room was aggressively bland. Beige carpet, one framed print above the bed, a desk chair that looked uncomfortable even before I sat in it. I turned on the lamp, took off my jacket, and watched my phone light up. Kara called 6 times in 20 minutes. Then the texts began. You embarrassed me. Everyone thinks you stormed out over a joke. You know what I meant. Stop acting like you didn't know your place. That one made me sit back. I read it 3 times. A minute later, another message came through. I said you were dependable. Somehow you made that an insult. Then, you always punish me with silence. Then, come home before this becomes something it doesn't need to be. I did not answer. Around midnight, I got a message from Cal. You okay? I typed, not really. He replied, I'm sorry. That was bad. A few minutes later, Noah called. Where are you? He asked. Hotel. Good. I laughed once, without humor. You sound relieved. I am. If you went home tonight, she'd turn it into a fight and get you to say something she could use. That sounds paranoid. No, he said. It sounds like I've watched this longer than you have. I did not respond. Noah continued. You know I don't like getting involved in marriages. You get involved in everything. True, but I usually have the decency to pretend otherwise. Despite myself, I smiled. Then he became serious again. Do not give them footage of you losing control. Let her lie, then let the truth arrive sober. I don't even know what the truth is yet. Then figure it out before you react. That was the first moment I understood that the toast might not be the whole problem. The next morning, I woke to 3 voicemails and 11 messages. One voicemail was from Paula, Kara's mother. Louis, call me when you can. Kara is very emotional. I know she can be dramatic, but walking out like that was cruel. Marriage takes patience, especially when someone says something poorly. Another was from Denise, Kara's older cousin. I heard what happened. I'm not taking sides, but leaving her at the restaurant on your anniversary was not okay. The third was Kara, crying. I cannot believe you made me look like some horrible person in front of everyone. That sentence told me exactly how the night had already been rewritten. Not what she said. Not what Bianca added. Not the years of comparisons. The problem was that my reaction had made Kara look bad. By breakfast, 2 mutual friends had messaged me saying Kara was devastated. One wrote that she had cried in the restaurant bathroom and told everyone I had always hated the fact that she had loved someone before me. Another said, she admitted the joke came out wrong, but she says you have been punishing her for years over Adrian. I stared at that message for a long time. I had never punished Kara over Adrian. I had asked her to stop comparing us. I had objected to inviting him to our vow renewal. I had questioned why a supposed marriage retreat lined up with his return. Those were now being described as a years-long campaign of jealousy. I called Noah again. He answered with, please tell me you didn't send a 3-page text. I sent nothing. Good. Everyone already has her version. Then stop trying to beat speed. Beat accuracy. What does that mean? It means receipts beat rage. I stood at the hotel window, looking at a parking lot that had nothing to do with my life. I hate this, I said. I know. I don't want to turn my marriage into a case file. Then don't. But protect yourself. A boundary is not revenge just because someone hates consequences. After we hung up, I opened my laptop. I did not search Kara's private accounts. I did not try to guess passwords or dig through hidden devices. I reviewed information I had legitimate access to, our shared bank statements, the vow renewal account with my name on it, emails sent to both of us, and the calendar we had used for years. The first thing I noticed was that the marriage retreat reservation had been paid from joint funds without my final approval. We had discussed it, but I had never agreed to the non-refundable package Kara selected. The second was that 2 counseling appointments I thought had been unavailable had actually been declined from Kara's email address. I remembered her telling Paula months earlier that I wasn't ready for therapy. The third was the number of vow renewal charges that had already appeared, a second florist deposit, an upgraded photography package, specialty linens, and a tasting add-on I had never seen. None of those charges alone proved anything beyond bad communication. But the shape of the story bothered me. Kara had described the renewal as a recommitment to me, a fresh start to friends, and apparently a major production to the vendors. She had pushed for Adrian to attend. She had aligned a retreat with his return. She had declined counseling, then told people I refused therapy. By late morning, my phone rang again. It was Cal. "I have something," he said. "What?" "The video from last night." I remember what she said. "I know. But other people are saying you cut her off before she could explain." "You didn't." I sat down on the edge of the bed. Cal continued. "I thought I was recording a funny toast. I got the whole thing. Her comment, Bianca laughing, you asking what she meant, and her saying not to make it weird. Why are you sending it to me?" "Because I should have said something at the table." "You didn't know what to say." "Neither did anyone. That doesn't make it right." A minute later, the video arrived. I watched it once. Then again. The second time was worse because I could see myself at the edge of the frame. I watched my own face change while Kara spoke. I watched Bianca grin before anyone else reacted, as if she had been waiting for the line. The video did not make me feel vindicated. It made me feel stupid. Kara had not accidentally stumbled into a cruel sentence. She had paused for effect. She had looked at Bianca. They had shared the moment. I saved the video in 2 places. Then I did something I had avoided for years. I contacted Adrian. It took me almost 20 minutes to write a message because I did not want to sound threatening, jealous, or desperate. I finally sent, "I'm not contacting you to fight or accuse you of anything. Kara has been bringing your name into our marriage and recently tried to invite you to our vow renewal. I need to know whether you have been involved in conversations about us or whether she has given you the impression our marriage is ending." His reply came 40 minutes later. "Lewis, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. I have told Kara several times that I'm not interested in restarting anything with her. I have no intention of being part of your marriage. I asked her not to use me as a reason to hurt you." I read it twice before responding. "Has she been contacting you recently?" "Yes." "Was any of it romantic from your side?" "No." Then another message appeared. "I should have been firmer earlier. I thought being polite would make it stop. It didn't." He sent 4 screenshots. In the first, Kara had written, "Lewis and I basically live like roommates. He likes the appearance of a marriage more than the marriage itself." Adrian replied, "Then talk to him. I'm not the person to discuss this with." In the second, she wrote, "He knows he was never the first choice. I think that's why he tries to control everything now." Adrian answered, "Kara, stop putting me in this." The third was longer. "Sometimes I feel like I chose safety and called it love because I was scared. I keep waiting for a sign that choosing stability wasn't the end of my real life." Adrian's response was 1 line. "I'm not your sign." The final screenshot was the most recent. Kara had written, "I'm doing a vow renewal. Don't laugh. Maybe it will finally make everything clear." Adrian replied, "Do not use an event with your husband to send me a message. I'm not interested. Talk to Lewis." I set my phone down. There was no secret affair, no mutual longing, no ex-boyfriend waiting in the wings. The fantasy belonged entirely to Kara. That should have made me feel better. It did not. A physical affair would have been a betrayal with a clear shape. This was harder to hold. Kara had spent years using a man who did not want her as evidence that I was lesser. She had built a private mythology in which Adrian was the great love stolen by timing, while I was the practical shelter she chose after the weather turned bad. And she had been telling Adrian that I knew, as if I had agreed to the role. I thanked him for answering. He replied, "I'm sorry. I should have shut this down sooner. Please keep me out of whatever happens next." I told him I would. That afternoon, I received an email from the vow renewal venue. Because my name was attached to the account, I had access to the planning thread. The coordinator had included both of us on a confirmation about the event schedule. The email read, "Per Kara's request, we can adjust the toast segment from What We Survived to A New Beginning. We will retain the current weekend even if the guest list changes. Please confirm whether the additional microphone setup is still needed." I scrolled through the earlier messages. Kara had asked whether the order of speeches could be changed, so she spoke last. She had also asked if the event could continue with a revised format if certain guests did not attend. There was no explicit plan to leave me at the altar or announce a separation. Nothing that dramatic. But it was clear that Kara had built flexibility into the event for something she was not sharing with me. The renewal was not only about repairing our marriage. It was a stage she wanted ready. At 4:17 that afternoon, Bianca texted me. Make him look cold first. Then nobody will blame you. 6 seconds later, another message came through. Sorry, wrong thread. I stared at the screen. Then Bianca called. I let it ring. She sent another text. That was about something else. I replied for the first time all day. What was the context? No answer. 10 minutes later. Kara is upset. Please don't twist things because you're angry. I took screenshots and saved them. Then I called the venue. I asked how much was refundable if we canceled immediately. The coordinator sounded surprised but professional. She gave me the figures and said she would send them in writing. I called the photographer next, then the florist, then the caterer. I did not yell or explain the marriage. I said the event was canceled due to private circumstances and requested written confirmations for all deposits and refunds. The venue returned part of the deposit. The photographer kept a booking fee. The florist refunded most of the money because no flowers had been ordered. The caterer withheld the tasting costs and a small administrative fee. By the time I finished, we had lost money, but far less than we would have lost by waiting. Then I sent a brief message to the guest list. Due to private marital issues, the vow renewal has been canceled. I'm sorry for the inconvenience and appreciate everyone respecting our privacy. I did not mention Kara, Adrian, the restaurant, or the lies. Within minutes, Kara called. This time, I answered. What did you do? She demanded. I canceled the renewal. You had no right. My name is on the contract and the deposits came from our joint account. You humiliated me. You humiliated me at dinner. That is not the same thing. No, it isn't. She went quiet for a second. Then she lowered her voice. You wanted everyone to know we were failing. I told them we had private marital issues. You knew what they would assume. They would assume less than what you've been telling them. What is that supposed to mean? I looked at Adrian's screenshots on the hotel desk. It means I'm not arguing with the version of me you invented. She inhaled sharply. Who have you been talking to? People you brought into our marriage. Louis. Did you tell Adrian I know I was never your first choice? Silence. Then, you contacted him? Yes. You went behind my back and contacted someone from my past. You were discussing our marriage with him in the present. That was private. So was our marriage. Her voice changed. The outrage thinned, and something more cautious took its place. What did he say? He said he isn't interested. I know that. Do you? Of course I do. He also told you not to use him as a sign. She hung up. I checked out of the hotel later that day and went home while Kara was at Paula's house. I packed enough clothes for several weeks, gathered my personal documents, and photographed the joint account balances. I did not remove joint money. I did not cancel utilities, block her cards, or leave her unable to buy groceries. I transferred my future discretionary spending into my personal account and sent her a written message explaining that shared funds would continue covering agreed household expenses, but I would no longer pay for non-essential event costs, upgrades, beauty appointments, or social plans presented as joint spending without my approval. She replied, "This is financial abuse." I answered, "No shared account has been emptied or restricted. Household bills remain covered. I am ending non-essential spending that was not mutually approved." She did not respond to that. That evening, I met Noah at a diner. He read the messages Adrian had sent and leaned back in the booth. "Well," he said, "that's all you have. I'm deciding how much honesty you can handle while eating pancakes. Try me." She has been using you as a prop in a romance that exists only in her head. I looked down at my coffee. Noah continued, "And she has been preparing other people to blame you when the prop walks off stage." That sounds dramatic. It is dramatic. She scheduled a vow renewal. She was calling a new beginning while messaging her ex about signs from fate. He rejected her. That doesn't make what she did less cruel. I rubbed my thumb along the edge of the mug. I keep thinking maybe I missed something. Maybe I really did become cold. You did. I looked up. Noah held my gaze. You became quiet because every emotion you showed got used against you. That isn't the same as not having emotions. I should have dealt with it years ago. Yes. I appreciated him for not pretending otherwise. He added, but staying too long does not mean you signed a lifetime contract to keep being disrespected. The next morning, I scheduled one counseling appointment with a therapist Kara and I had previously discussed. I sent her the confirmation. One appointment. Both of us. No audience. We can discuss the toast, Adrian, the renewal, and the stories being told to family. I will attend. Her reply came an hour later. I'm not sitting in a room so you can punish me with your insecurities. I saved the message. After that, Kara changed tactics. Her texts became softer. I'm sorry you were hurt. I never meant to make you feel second. You know I love you in my own way. We have 8 years together. You can't reduce that to one bad night. I did not reduce our marriage to one night. The toast had only opened a door. Behind it were years of comparisons, private messages, a staged renewal, declined counseling, manipulated relatives, and a plan to make me look cold before she made whatever move she had imagined next. When I did not return home, Kara began calling people. Paula left another voicemail. Louis, I need you to be patient. Kara is emotional and says you are cutting her off financially. Marriage is not supposed to be punishment. I called her back. Household expenses are covered, I said. I stopped paying for non-essential things we did not agree on. She says you canceled everything without speaking to her. I canceled a vow renewal after she publicly said she settled for me. She told me it was a bad joke. Did she tell you exactly what she said? Paula hesitated. She said she made a comment about you being dependable. That is not what she said. Then tell me. Not over the phone. Louis, this looks controlling. I understand how it looks based on what she told you. That sounds dismissive. It isn't. It is why I will come to one dinner and explain in person. Paula exhaled. Sunday. Fine. After we hung up, I regretted agreeing. I did not want to turn a family meal into a trial. I also knew that refusing would become another piece of evidence in Kara's story. She had already told Denise that I was isolating her and punishing anyone who supported her. So I prepared. Not a massive binder. Not a slideshow. Not a dramatic speech. One paper envelope. Inside it, I placed printed copies of the most relevant messages. Kara's text telling me I knew my place. Adrian's screenshots. The venue email. Bianca's accidental message. The counseling refusal. And a clean timeline of the deposits and cancellations. I saved Cal's video on my phone. Before Sunday, I met briefly with a family lawyer. I did not ask how to destroy Kara or hide money. I asked what separation meant, how to handle joint expenses, and how to document decisions without escalating conflict. The lawyer told me to keep communication factual, preserve records, avoid retaliatory financial moves, and make no major property decisions without advice. That was exactly what I intended to do. Sunday evening, I arrived at Paula's house with the envelope under my arm. Kara was already there. So were Bianca and Denise. Cal had been invited because he witnessed the restaurant incident. Noah was not there. He said family court without a judge sounded like his idea of hell and that I did not need a cheering section. The dining room smelled like roasted chicken and garlic. Paula had set the table with cloth napkins, the kind she usually saved for holidays. It was painfully normal. Kara sat with Bianca beside her. Her eyes were red, but her makeup was careful. There was a tissue folded beside her plate. She looked at the envelope. What is that? Information. Bianca gave a quiet laugh. Of course. Paula came in carrying a serving bowl. Let's eat before we do this, she said. No one really ate. There was some forced conversation about the weather and a relative's new car. Kara moved food around her plate. Denise kept glancing at me as if I might explode. Finally, Paula set down her fork. All right, she said. We need to talk. Kara started before anyone else could. I know I said something hurtful, she said. I have admitted that. But Louis has used one sentence to punish me for every insecurity he has ever had. I did not respond. She continued. He walked out in front of everyone. Then he canceled the renewal, separated money, contacted Adrian behind my back, and refused to come home. He is making me look unstable because I admitted something uncomfortable. What did you admit? I asked. Kara looked at me. That I settled. The bluntness of it shocked even me. She saw the reaction around the table and hurried on. I said it badly. I meant that love changes. I meant that sometimes the person who stays is more valuable than the person who gives you fireworks. That is not what you said. It is what I meant. Bianca leaned forward. He has always hated that Kara had a life before him. Cal looked down at the table. Denise nodded. That is what I heard too. Paula turned to me. Louis, I know she hurt you. But canceling a major event, controlling money, and contacting an ex all looks very cold. For a moment, I almost defended myself the old way. I almost explained every feeling, every argument, every time I had tried to be understanding. Then I realized that was exactly the trap. Kara's version depended on me drowning the room in emotion while she stood at a distance and called me unstable. So I put the envelope on the table. If this is going to be judged in public, I said, then the truth can be public too. Kara's expression changed. What are you doing? Answering the accusation. With private messages? You made the accusation public. Paula raised a hand. One thing at a time. I took out my phone and looked at Cal. Are you okay with me playing the video? He nodded. Yes. Kara turned toward him. You sent it to him? Cal's face tightened. People were lying about what happened. No one was lying. I pressed play. The room filled with restaurant noise. Kara's voice came through clearly. 8 years. Can you believe it? Marriage is funny. Some women marry the love of their life. Some marry the man who doesn't leave. Then Bianca's voice. At least he's consistent. The awkward laughter sounded worse in Paula's quiet dining room. My voice followed. Is that what this marriage is to you? Then Kara. Oh my God, Louis. It was a joke. Don't make it weird. I stopped the video. No one spoke. Kara stared at the table. Paula looked at her. You did not tell me Bianca said that. Bianca lifted both hands. It was obviously a joke. Cal spoke for the first time. No one thought it was funny. You laughed, Bianca said. I was uncomfortable. That is convenient now. I took the first page from the envelope and slid it toward Paula. This came after I left. It was a printout of Kara's text. Stop acting like you didn't know your place. Paula read it, then passed it to Denise. Kara's face flushed. I was angry. You told everyone the toast was misunderstood, I said. That message was not misunderstood. You abandoned me at the restaurant. I paid for my meal and left after you told a room full of people that I was the man who stayed when the one you loved did not. I was drunk. You were sober enough to text me my place an hour later. Kara looked at Paula. He is doing exactly what I said. He collects things and turns them into weapons. No, I said. I saved what you sent me after you started telling people a different story. Bianca crossed her arms. So now every private text in a marriage is evidence. When one spouse recruits an audience, the other spouse is allowed to answer. Kara's voice rose. You contacted Adrian. Yes. That alone proves how obsessed you are. I took out the next pages. I sent him one calm message. He replied. Kara stood up, so quickly her chair scraped the floor. You had no right to share anything he sent you. He sent it to me because you made me part of the conversation without my consent. Louis. Paula looked between us. Sit down, Kara. Kara remained standing for another second, then lowered herself into the chair. I handed Paula the screenshots. She read the first one silently. Then the second. Her mouth tightened. Denise leaned closer. What does it say? Bianca asked. Paula did not answer her. She looked at Kara. Did you tell Adrian that you and Louis live like roommates? Kara pressed her lips together. Paula continued. Did you tell him Louis knows he was never your first choice? That was taken out of context. What context makes that appropriate? Kara's eyes filled. I was confused. I said nothing. Paula read the next screenshot. Her voice was quieter now. You told Adrian you were waiting for a sign that choosing stability was not the end of your real life. Kara looked at me with anger, not shame. This is why I could not talk to you. You were not talking to me, I said. You were talking about me to a man who told you to stop. Paula looked down again. Then she asked the question that changed the room. Did Adrian really tell you to stop contacting him? Kara did not answer. Kara. That is not the point. Paula's face hardened. It is exactly the point. He does not understand what I meant. His messages look clear. He was scared of getting involved. He was already involved because you kept contacting him. Kara turned to me. You wanted this. You wanted to humiliate me. No, I wanted the truth before you finished turning me into a villain. She laughed bitterly. There it is. You are the victim. I am not asking anyone to feel sorry for me. Then what are you asking? For the lies to stop. Bianca spoke up. This is still one-sided. You have no idea how alone she has felt in that marriage. I took out her text and placed it in front of her. Make him look cold first. Then nobody will blame you. Bianca went pale. Denise read it over her shoulder. Paula said, "What is that?" Bianca picked up the paper. This was about something else. What? I asked. I sent it to the wrong person. I know. What was the context? She looked at Kara. Kara looked away. Bianca tried again. You are taking one message and building a whole conspiracy. Then give us the context. I was trying to help my friend. Help her do what? Feel less trapped. By making me look cold first? That is not what I meant. What did you mean? She opened her mouth and closed it. Kara suddenly snapped. You told me people would never understand unless they saw how he really was. Bianca stared at her. Do not put this all on me. You said I needed to control the story. I said you needed support. You told me to stop letting him look reasonable. Bianca's face changed from defensive to furious. Because every time you complained about him, you went home and acted like everything was fine. Kara pushed back from the table. You encouraged me. I did not tell you to message Adrian. No, you just told me I deserved my real love. The two of them began talking over each other. Paula raised her voice. Enough. The room went silent. She turned to Kara. You made us part of a lie. Kara started crying. I did not lie. I was trying to explain how I felt. You told me Louis refused counseling. I placed the appointment confirmation and Kara's refusal on the table. One final appointment, I said. She declined in writing. Paula read the message. I'm not sitting in a room so you can punish me with your insecurities. Kara wiped at her cheek. I knew he would use therapy to attack me. You cannot say he refused counseling when you refused to attend, Paula said. Kara looked around the table, searching for someone who would still hold her version in place. Denise was the first to look away. Cal cleared his throat. I should have spoken up at dinner, he said. I am sorry, Louis. I nodded. Denise folded her napkin. I repeated what Kara told me, she said. I should have asked you first. Kara turned on her. So now everyone is on his side. This is not about sides, Denise said, though it clearly had been 10 minutes earlier. I took out the venue email last. The vow renewal was not canceled to punish Kara, I said. I canceled it because I found out it was being used for something other than recommitting to our marriage. Kara shook her head. That is ridiculous. I slid the email to Paula. She read the line about changing the toast to a new beginning and keeping the weekend even if the guest list changed. Paula looked up. What was the new beginning? Kara stared at her. It was just a title. For what? A toast. To whom? Kara's voice broke. I do not know. I believe that part. I did not think Kara had a detailed plan with a final speech and a scheduled exit. Her cruelty was more fluid than that. She wanted the stage ready, the audience sympathetic, and Adrian nearby in her imagination. She wanted options. If the renewal made her look brave and committed, she would take that. If it gave her a moment to announce that she had spent years settling, she would take that too. The lack of a complete plan did not make the deception harmless. It made it reckless. I looked at her. You asked me to pay for a celebration while telling Adrian I was not your real life. I was confused. You told people I was controlling before I knew I was on trial. I needed someone to talk to. You had a husband. You made it impossible. I asked you to stop comparing me to him. You called that insecurity. I asked for counseling. You declined and told people I refused. I questioned the retreat date. You told me I was paranoid. Then you stood at our anniversary dinner and announced my place. Kara's crying stopped. Her expression turned hard. So what do you want, Louis? Applause because you made me look pathetic? I did not make you look pathetic. You contacted the one person you knew would embarrass me. I contacted the person whose name you kept putting between us. You invaded my privacy. I did not take anything from a locked drawer or hidden account. These messages were sent to me, shared by someone involved, or tied to money and accounts in my name. I gathered the remaining papers into a neat stack. I did not cancel a marriage, I said. I canceled a performance. No one answered. Dinner ended without dessert. Paula asked Kara to stay behind. Bianca left first, walking out without saying goodbye. Denise apologized to me again near the front door, this time without trying to explain herself. Cal stood beside his car for a minute. I really am sorry, he said. You sent the video. I should have spoken sooner. So should I. He nodded once. That was all either of us needed to say. I drove back to the place I had been staying and found a new message from Adrian. Kara contacted me again. I blocked her. I am not involved with her and have asked her repeatedly to stop discussing her marriage with me. Please do not include me in this again. I replied. Understood. I will not contact you again. The next morning, Paula called. Her voice sounded tired. Adrian sent me a message too, she said. What did he say? That he is not involved with Kara, that he asked her to stop, and that he does not want to be contacted again. I waited. Paula continued. I owe you an apology. You believed your daughter. I believed the version that was easier to hear. That is different. Yes, she said quietly. It is. She told me Kara and Bianca had spent most of the night blaming each other. Bianca claimed Kara had exaggerated her marriage problems. Kara claimed Bianca had encouraged her to create an exit narrative before she was ready to leave. I was not interested in deciding which one was more responsible. Kara was my wife. Her choices belonged to her. Bianca had enabled her, coached her, and helped spread lies. But she had not forced Kara to compare me to Adrian for years. She had not written the messages. She had not raised the glass. The vow renewal remained canceled. The refunds returned to the joint account. I sent Kara a spreadsheet showing every deposit, every returned amount, and every non-refundable fee. I proposed that the losses tied to choices we had both approved be split, while the added upgrades and changes she made without my agreement would come from her discretionary funds. She accused me again of punishment. I answered, accountability feels personal when you expected someone else to absorb the cost. I regretted the line as soon as I sent it because it sounded more theatrical than I wanted to be. But it was true. We formalized temporary financial boundaries in writing. Household expenses continued from the joint account. Neither of us could use shared funds for non-essential purchases over an agreed amount without written approval. Personal social spending came from personal accounts. No money was hidden. No bills were abandoned. I began the separation process. I did not announce it online or send evidence to everyone we knew. The people Kara had directly involved received the truth. Everyone else got silence. For 2 weeks, Kara alternated between anger and bargaining. One day she texted, "You destroyed my relationship with my family." The next, "I miss our mornings." Then, "You know I never physically cheated." Then, "Are you really willing to throw away 8 years?" I responded only when there was something practical to address. The absence of a physical affair became her favorite defense. She said it to Paula. She said it to Denise. She said it to me during our first in-person conversation after the family dinner. We met at the house on a Saturday afternoon to discuss bills, personal belongings, and the separation timeline. The kitchen looked exactly as it always had. Unopened mail sat near the fruit bowl. One of our unused mugs had somehow migrated to the counter. The normality of it made me feel worse than any argument. Kara stood by the sink with her arms folded. "I never slept with him," she said. "I know. I never even kissed him." "I know." "So you are ending our marriage over thoughts and jokes?" "No." "What else is there?" "You spent years using him to make me feel lesser. You told him I knew I was second. You told our friends I was cold before I understood you were planning an exit story. You turned a vow renewal into a stage. You lied about counseling. You publicly humiliated me, then called my reaction abuse. I was unhappy. You were allowed to be unhappy. You never listened. I listened every time you told me what Adrian would have done better. That is not fair. It is accurate." She looked down. For the first time, she sounded less angry than exhausted. "I did love you." "Maybe." Her head came up. "Maybe. I think you loved what I provided. Stability. Forgiveness. Someone who would stay calm while you tested how much humiliation he could swallow. That is cruel. It is how the marriage felt. You are rewriting everything now. No, I am finally including the parts one kept minimizing. She sat at the table. I was scared, she said. Adrian was the last time I felt like I could become anyone. With you, everything became bills and groceries and routines. I love those routines. I know. Then why did you use them as proof that our life was less real? She stared at her hands. I do not know. That was the closest she had come to honesty. Not an apology, not accountability, but an admission that the story she had built did not have a noble explanation. She had felt ordinary. Instead of confronting that feeling, she turned Adrian into a symbol and me into the reason she was trapped. I took a page from my folder, one of the few times I used one, because the lawyer had asked me to keep copies of our written boundaries, and placed it on the table. These are the conditions for any future conversation about reconciliation, I said. Kara read them. The vow renewal would not happen. Non-essential finances would remain separate during the separation. Counseling would only be considered if she acknowledged the full truth, corrected the lies she told, and stopped contacting Adrian. If she continued accusing me of abuse or control to people she had already involved, I would provide the evidence to those same people. The separation would continue, and any decision about the marriage would be based on sustained actions, not apologies made under pressure. She put the page down. So this is a contract now? It is a boundary. You always need control. No, I need clarity. She laughed softly, bitterly. You really changed. I stopped helping you avoid consequences. Her eyes filled again. I made a mistake. You're my husband. No. She flinched. I continued. I was your shelter when the fantasy did not choose you. That is not all you were. It is the role you kept assigning me. I am telling you now that I choose you. Now Adrian has blocked you. Bianca has turned on you, and your family knows the truth. That does not mean I do not love you. It means I cannot trust the timing. She stood. Are you really willing to throw away 8 years? I looked around the kitchen. The coffee maker was still set for 2 cups. Our grocery list was still attached to the refrigerator with the magnet Kara bought on our 3rd anniversary. There were traces of us everywhere. I felt grief. Real grief. But grief was not the same as doubt. You did not lose your first choice, I said. You lost the man who kept choosing you after you stopped choosing him. She covered her mouth with one hand and turned away. I did not stay to watch her cry. The separation moved forward. Kara eventually sent corrections to the people she had directly misled. They were not perfect. She wrote that she had spoken from hurt and created an unfair impression of me. She did not fully admit the planning with Bianca until Paula insisted. Bianca disappeared from most family events. From what I heard, she and Kara still exchanged angry messages, each blaming the other for escalating things. I stopped asking. Denise became civil but distant, which suited me. Cal checked in occasionally. Noah continued giving advice with the emotional softness of a tire iron. Paula surprised me most. She did not pressure me to reconcile. Once, she said, I spent years pretending Adrian was harmless because admitting otherwise would mean confronting Kara. I am sorry you paid for that. I thanked her. Kara attended counseling alone after our separation had been underway for several weeks. She told me about it, perhaps expecting praise. I said, I hope it helps. I did not treat one appointment as transformation. I had spent too many years rewarding small gestures while ignoring patterns. We divided responsibilities, scheduled time to collect belongings, and kept communication mostly in writing. I followed my lawyer's advice and avoided making permanent decisions in anger. But I also stopped pretending indecision was kindness. The marriage was not fine. I was not going home because Kara finally feared losing me. One morning, about 2 months after the anniversary dinner, I woke before sunrise and made coffee. Out of habit, I reached for 2 mugs. Then I stopped. I put one back in the cabinet. The kitchen where I was staying was quiet, and for the first time in years, quiet did not feel like a punishment. There was no one waiting to call me cold because I needed a moment to think. No comparison hiding inside a joke. No invisible man sitting between us while I tried to prove I deserved my own marriage. I drank my coffee by the window and thought about how long I had confused being chosen with being tolerated. Kara had not ruined me with one toast. She had simply said aloud what I had spent years refusing to hear. I did not become the man she never wanted. I became the man I should have been before I let her make me feel replaceable. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.